Assalamualaikum, my name is Arfat and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video I thought I'd do something different, something interesting to me and something that I've been wanting to do all along. The ancient Egyptian civilization is my favorite civilization in the entire history book. And so quite a while back I have purchased the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Papyrus of Ani. I've not read everything, but I've read certain passages that really struck me. There's a couple of Book of the Dead, and I've chosen this one, a slightly pricier one, because of the illustration. You can see here you have the hieroglyphics, which I am learning to read, and it is very interesting. And there's also a lot of paintings and things like that. One thing I realized is that you can actually order an ancient quality papyrus online, but it is very expensive. I'm not sure if I'm gonna order them, but it'll be interesting to see some like actual ancient Egyptian quality papyrus. So if I ever purchase that one, I'll definitely make a video of it. But there is a section here whereby you can pull out if I can find it. Yes, so this is the middle section here, which you can pull out. I'll just show you in a bit, and you can see the full length of this ancient Egyptian papyrus scroll. Now the Book of the Dead is like some spells that they would prepare beforehand, or the priests would prepare beforehand to help the dead people go to heaven or to escape the judgment. There's one passage in particular which I will not read, but I'll just summarize to you, whereby this person actually prepare something like a spell to deceive the underworld gods, and so I'm not sure how that turned out, but yeah, so this book is very interesting. Now the main idea here is not for me to promote this book, because it contains a lot of the things that is weird to read, and also could be used as an incantation, like a ritual to call out the devil. I'll just read to you the introductory hymn to the sun god Re. Okay. Worship of Re when he rises in the eastern horizon of the sky by Ani. He says, "Hail to you, you have come as Capri, even Capri, who is the creator of the gods. You rise and shine on the back of your mother, which is the sky, having appeared in glory as king of the gods. Your mother Nut shall use her arms on your behalf in making greeting, and Manu mountain receive you in peace. Mud embraces you at all seasons. May you give power and might in vindication, and a coming forth as a living soul to see Horakti, to the Ka of Ani." Okay. A lot of these, it is weird to read. For example, introductory hymn to Osiris, as portrayed here. Hopefully you can see. Introductory hymn to Osiris here. Worship of Osiris Wenefer, the great god who dwells in the Thanite Nome, king of eternity, lord of everlasting, who passes millions of years in his lifetime, firstborn son of Nut, begotten of Geb, Hair, lord of the Weteret crown, whose white crown is tall, sovereign of gods and men. He has taken the crook and the flail and the office of his forefathers. May your heart, which is in the desert land, be glad, for your son Horus is firm on your throne, while you have appeared as Lord of Busiris, as the ruler who is in Abydos. And so there's a lot of interesting passages to read. Now, in summary, what can we learn from ancient Egyptian civilization of the past? From a Muslim perspective, There's a lot of theological chapters that we can actually explore. And so this is what we will attempt to do today. We will not attempt to uncover the history, because this channel is history and theology, and recently people have been feedbacking to me, say that you've not done a lot of theology. Well, that is actually true. So today we're gonna dive into a little bit of theology, because we've done a lot of history. Now I'll approach this from a Muslim perspective, and the views that I'll share here are my understanding of the Islamic theology. And so, first things first, we have here someone, allegedly Annie. Okay, Annie prepared this papyrus, or whoever prepared for her, in the hopes of escaping judgment in the afterlife. Now, we do not know when Annie wrote this. Possibly in the Middle Kingdom, for example, 1500 BCE, or it could be later, it could be earlier, but definitely because hieroglyphics actually takes time to develop if you study ancient Egyptian history. And so let's take this as to be the Middle Kingdom. By the way, there's many Book of the Dead, so this is just the Papyrus of Annie. Okay, some other publishers would publish Book of the Dead, that is not the Papyrus of Annie. It could be different papyrus. Okay, it could be the papyrus of a different person. So the one that I have here is Papyrus of Annie. Now I'm pretty sure in the introduction, which I've read long time ago, they've mentioned when this book was actually written. I mean, when this was discovered, possibly around 1820 or so. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read the introduction. But theologically, what we can learn from here is that these people actually prepare something like a spell, like a scroll, to save them from the judgment of the afterlife. Could this be a right practice, or could this be the Islam of the past, possibly the time of Yusuf, Prophet Yusuf, Joseph? Okay, possibly after the Prophet Joseph, or after the Prophet Abraham, for example, somewhere between the Prophet Abraham and the Prophet Moses. Could this be Islam of the past? Definitely not, because it contains a lot of this paganistic. It is pagan, but it contains a lot of these imagery, and associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when I read some of these passages, I can't help but think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with Islam. I could have been this person, and I could have been the one who actually wrote this Book of the Dead, or I could have been someone that lives amongst the ancient Egyptian of the past, or I could be amongst the Hebrews of the past that were enslaved by Ramesses. Okay, and instead of all of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to be in this world, to be able to use technologies like this, and to be a Muslim, for example. And so when I read something like this, I can't help but we have to remember that Allah is the most merciful, most forgiving, and He is the oft-returning. And so the idea of all these books that I read is actually to take a lesson from them, to actually understand and realize, and it's like a slap on our faces, that we don't just read this for fun, for pleasure, but no, we reflect on them. We could have been the one who actually associate partners with Allah, like the one who actually came out with this Papyrus of Annie. millennium ago, 3 millennium ago. But instead, Allah has blessed us with Islam. And so that is something that we cannot take for granted. And because if we take for granted, then Allah will just bring someone else that is an even better worshipper than us. So this is one of the views that I have as a Muslim. When I read all these ancient literatures, especially the illustrated version, now I have tons of other books on ancient Egypt which I could share about the gods and goddesses, the complete gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt by Wilkinson, and also about the cities of ancient Egypt, the complete cities of ancient Egypt, about the Sphinx, about the pyramid, the alignment of the Sphinx and the pyramid facing east, because they worship the gods of the sky. What is it called? I forgot the name of it. The lion, and so that's why the Sphinx is mirrored over the lion, the constellation of the lion, or lioness. And so, looking at all this, I could have been born in that era, and I could have been the one associating partners for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah obviously says in the Quran that whoever associate partners with Him will never smell Jannah, will never be entered into paradise, for example. So from a theological perspective, I am just thankful, and this is something that I need to realize, and I should not take my religion for a fool. From a Christian perspective, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the Christians and the Jews. Pretty much they can say the same thing. They could have been, for example, the Christians could have been amongst the Israelites or the Hebrews. I think Hebrews is the much more appropriate term, even though it is mentioned, because it is mentioned by one of the pharaohs, or the writings, for example. And so the Hebrews, the Hebrews, possibly the people of Moses, the Bani Israel, no doubt they were historically present in Egypt by the time of Ramses II. If you look at the biblical narrative, the children of Egypt had been the children of Jacob had been enslaved for 400 years, 430 years, depending on which passage you read. And so God sent Moses to remove his people out of Israel, because the Hebrews have been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible. And so Christians could say that they could have been amongst the Hebrews who were enslaved, and so they were thankful because according to them, they have Jesus, according to them. And just last night I was watching this pastor, I'll not mention the name. He claimed to be a prophet. If you know what I'm talking about, a very well-known pastor. His videos obviously on YouTube. He claimed to be a prophet. He claimed to be an apostle. But these were all, he had been exposed. And so, but then Christians could say that, I could have been amongst the Hebrews, but now I have Jesus. And so Jesus died for my sin, just like Mark, in the Gospel according to Mark. And the Jews today could say that I'm thankful. I did not associate partners with God, Yahweh. Okay, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So they could have been amongst the Hebrews who were enslaved, or could have been amongst on the opposite side of the spectrum, whereby they were the ones who enslaved the pagans, who enslaved the Hebrews, the Egyptian pagans, the pantheons. And so if you apply theology and take a look at it, the Abrahamic faith pretty much can agree that we at least have a form of connection. Even though I would argue that even the pagans of Mecca, have, you know, connections with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if you look at the Quran, they believe that Allah exists. Okay, the reason why God punishes them is not for them. It's not because they deny the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's because they are associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same for the Romans, the Greek, and the ancient Egyptians. They believe that there is one supreme God. Akhenaten believed that Aten is the supreme God. Okay, but then he associated partners with this supreme God. Even though the concept of this supreme God is different throughout the different Egyptian pharaoh and kings before that, because the ancient before the Middle Kingdom, they were not called kings. Sorry, they were not called pharaohs. They were called kings. Yeah. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without going to much details, you can read this book for yourself. It is published by Chronicle Books. Excuse me, I have no voice today. Chronicle Books, and this is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Papyrus of Ani. This is in an A3 size. This is about £27 in the UK and $35 US. I'll just give you the price that I paid for it. Yeah. And so it is worth the read. It is worth just looking at the illustration and try to figure out how to read the hieroglyphs. Yeah. So I thought I'd share this book with you, and hopefully you enjoy this video, even though it's something different. I do intend to do more, because I do have like a lot of coffee table books. Like, for example, this is one of my coffee table books. And so it'll be nice if you can actually have this underneath your coffee table, and when guests actually come to your house, you can actually, you know, share all this information with them. And also at the same time, you know, you can enlighten them with your knowledge of history or theology, whichever, you know, the knowledge that we have, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Certainly all goodness comes from God, and every fault and mistakes is of our own. My name is Arfat, and I'll see you on my next one. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.